strong and positive for ourselves and our children. I'm Katthe, and I'm joining from Wadsworth, Illinois. So as you come into the room and before our start time of 12 noon sharp in the Central region, if you could go to the chat, open up the chat, and get the drop-down menu that says to panelists and attendees. For me, it's the second option. Panelists is first, and then panelists and attendees. And then just say hi and where you're joining from. Andrew's here with me.
Hey, everyone.
Joining from Minnesota. Who else is here? Hi, Anna. Welcome back. Hi, Tondra. Hi, Tammy. Welcome. Hi, Brenda, Yamuna. I'm seeing all these names I know. Hi, Lawan. So I want to tell you all, we're a little bit behind on our incentives. At the beginning of this, we promised you that the more webinars you attended, the more gifts and I love you presents you would get from us. And I just want to tell you all that your I love you presents are in the mail or actually in the email. So look out this week. Some of you who attended like many webinars are going to get many emails this week. So welcome everybody. Hi, Stephen. Hi, Autumn. Hi, Sylvia. We've got Michigan, California, Washington, D.C., Texas, Pennsylvania, Los Angeles, Wichita, Washington State. I love our community. Denise, Maryland. Yes, I love our community all over. We have bright spots. I think of you all as like lights, like bright lights in all different parts of the country. To me, this is appropriate for this week. It's about social vitality. It's kind of appropriate. I feel like you're shining stars. And just want before we start, just like, how's your journey to vitality going? Are you seeing positive changes? Those of you who've been here a few weeks now with us, are you feeling good? Absolutely, Tondra says. Yes, awesome. Others? I'm glad, Tondra. Brenda, I am. Awesome. Awesome. Feel more aware. That's really important, right? Feeling pretty good, still working on things. Yep, I get it. We're all works in progress. And especially some of those things that we have mental blocks to, like some of those things like finance is one of those things that it gets better, but you have to get rid of the blocks that keep you from the vitality. And that's true with any domain. Today's domain, Dana says she's really noticed more peace and intention. Started a 40-day sugar detox on the 1st. We had some people around here that are doing that too at Be Strong Families, that a sugar detox. It's a good thing to do. Anyway, today is the launch of our Social Vitality Week, and we're going to talk about, just as usual on Mondays, it's just a grounding, like a getting started and exploring our mind space around the domain. So let's go forward. The ways to engage, you're already using the chat, and that's our primary way to engage, as you know, especially in these half-hour sessions. Autumn's making changes in many areas. Awesome. And then if you want to speak, you just raise your hand. Andrew will unmute you, and then you'll need to unmute yourself as well, and you will be able to speak. So we welcome your participation in all ways. So let's go to the next slide. Happy Monday. We recognize that we co-create this safe space together. So we ask that you agree to these agreements, to speak from your own experience, to treat other people the way you want to be treated, and to be here now. If you agree to these agreements, please put I agree in the chat. Awesome, we're on a roll. Yes, so social vitality, it's about your support system, and also just the joy that friends and families add to your life. So when we do cafes or vitality cafes, the questions in this domain focus on the energy that the current people in your life support and reinforce. That's a big mouthful, but it's basically like when you're talking about vitality, how do people add to your vitality and how do people undermine your vitality? People other than yourself. How do the people that you're in relationship with add to your vitality and how they undermine your vitality. Because both can happen, right? I mean, if you have a lot of conflict with somebody, or you have a person that is toxic for you, like the chemistry between you and that person is toxic, that can undermine your vitality. It can wear away at you. If you have a bully in your life, that can wear away at you. But if you have people also, just like say you're eating a certain way and you go over to somebody's place or house, or you go out to lunch with them and you tell them how you're eating, but then they don't support you in that. Is that adding to your vitality, or is that undermining your vitality? If they tease you or they encourage you to have the big dessert that you don't want to have right now. So anyway, it's just recognizing that other people can add to our vitality or they can undermine our vitality. So let's talk about COVID. I know people are probably tired of talking about COVID, but let's just reflect a little bit about what happened to our relationships during the pandemic. And Andrew, put the next two questions up there, because what we realize is that some connections probably got stronger, some connections dropped off. So I want us all to think about what happened to your relationships during the pandemic, what connections got stronger and which dropped off. And I'll tell you that at the beginning of the pandemic, I had an old friend. He was a boyfriend in high school, actually, and we've kept in touch over the years. And he told me that I was on his list, that I was on his list of important people. He had made a list as a result of the pandemic. He's a lawyer. He'd made a list of people who he was intentionally wanting to nurture his relationship with. And I was one of them. So I thought that was really interesting. And many of us may have made lists or maybe not made lists, but there's probably certain people that got stronger with your relationships and certain that dropped off. Brenda says family got stronger and friends dropped off. Denise says my connection with a friend who relocated out of the country grew stronger. Nice. I know for me, the relationships with my family, with my mom and my sisters, totally got stronger because we started doing, and I've talked about this before, but we started doing a weekly call, especially because my dad was sick and we couldn't visit as much as we had been visiting, like rotating visits because, to support my mom. And then when COVID happened, we couldn't. So we started having this weekly call, and it's really interesting because we could have done that. There's nothing stopping us from doing that, in life before COVID, but we just hadn't. But what we learned by doing that, I think it was really interesting to watch, because we learned how to be with each other as adults. And some of the conflict that we had, we just realized was because we are all strong personalities. So we learned how to basic things like taking turns in conversations, everybody wants to be the know-it-all, and how do we accommodate everybody knowing something about something, so we didn't do it consciously, but that's what happened. And it improved, just the proximity improved because we each have such separate lives normally. Dana says, I was in a toxic relationship with a narcissist for 30 years. Thankfully, in October 2019, I demanded change for my health and the kids. The divorce that's the result of that stand. I'm so thankful we did not have to go through COVID with such a person. My kids and I and my parents are much closer than we were. Certain friendships grew because I cultivated those relationships that were supportive, kind, and fulfilling. That's a great, thank you for sharing, Dana, and thank you for sharing so openly and vulnerably. And I love the part where at the end we were talking about really focusing on relationships that are supportive, kind, and fulfilling. And I think many people, COVID had us assessing, what do we care about? What do we care about in relationships? Tammy says, for me, things have stayed the same because I either live with my daughters and grandkids or live far away from the people I'm close to. Yeah, and and I live far away from people I'm close to too. And some of them I got closer to, just like who was it? Denise was saying, got closer to a friend who relocated out of the country because you just decided that these people were people that you needed to Zoom with or FaceTime with or whatever more. Dana says she got much more aware of fake or surface level relationships. Mm. Yeah, and I found that I needed my deepest, most spiritual relationships. I needed them in a way that I wasn't as aware of needing them when there was more distraction. Because I feel like part of what COVID did for me, working at home, is stop running around, and so with all the running around time created more space in me. And part of that was recognizing and valuing the deep connections that I had. How about you, Andrew? What connections got stronger for you and which dropped off?
I think stronger for me would be family, in terms of kind of the conversations we had. I mean, there was something really special about just being able to FaceTime with my mom and my grandmother, and just having, a glass of wine while we talked about things we never might have talked about. I think dropping off probably would be those friendships that revolved around an activity. So like friends that I just knew because they were football friends, get together on Sunday and watch the games. But suddenly, because you're quarantining throughout all football season, you're not talking to them as much. And I mean, maybe I'll reconnect with them, but for this time in my life, I don't really feel the need to right
now. Deborah says family values got stronger. The support and help was within. Deborah, within the family or within yourself, are you saying? I'm sure some people probably, like Dana, you say that, you started divorcing in 2019 and you didn't need to go through the pandemic, quarantined with someone who was very uncomfortable to be living with. I wonder, I think some of us probably did have situations like that, not necessarily that you want to share publicly, but I imagine that there are lots of situations where people kind of realized, what, this isn't going to work for the long haul. Stephen says he's gotten to know his neighbors better. Nice. Okay, what's the next question? Let's go to the next question. So what did you learn about yourself and social vitality during COVID? What did you learn about yourself and social vitality? So I remember at the beginning of COVID, I'm going to prompt you a little bit. At the beginning of COVID, Deborah says we made time for meals, shopping, date night, etc. Nice. Yeah, like because you're spending more intensive time with a smaller number of people, that like who's in your bubble with you. So that makes it's completely logical that if those relationships are valuable and these people are people that you're connecting with, that you're able to spend more quality time, as we say, with people who are in your bubble. And that's true for, it's weird because never mind, I won't go there. Okay, so what did you learn about yourself and social vitality? Autumn says, I have a group of about 5 mom friends, and that has strengthened through COVID as we've been there for others' struggles via chat and phone and some distance park walks. And Yamuna says, I'm really self-aware of my needs and got better at listening to myself, literally, and taking care of me. Oxygen mask so that I could be useful to others. Nice. And Denise said, I like alone time. I never realized how much I needed my social time too. And Stephen says he got quieter inside. Mm-hmm. Yeah. At the beginning of COVID, we had a lot of conversation about extroversion versus introverts and how COVID was hitting, how the pandemic was hitting extroverts differently than introverts. And some of our staff members are extroverts and some of our staff members are introverts. And the extroverts were really struggling because they get energy from large groups and they get energy from, that's how they feel healthy. And I learned if I had any doubt about whether I was an extrovert or an introvert, I mean, I have lots of extrovert skills, but I learned that I'm an introvert. And I was so relieved during COVID not to feel this back. I mean, and I'm old, but I didn't realize how much background pressure there was for me feeling like I wasn't doing socializing like correctly or something. I felt like there's just, it's an extrovert kind of society. And so I don't know if anybody else had this experience or not, but feeling like, when I stay home on Friday night or I stay home on Saturday night or whatever, sometimes I feel like I'm just like, weird or not normal or not okay. And during COVID, when everybody was staying home, I felt like, oh, like it must be I'm an introvert. Okay, let's see. Rebecca says, I need in-person connections much more than I thought I did. My church family became even more important to me after COVID restrictions cut our ability to meet in person. Wonderful. And Dana says, I really am an introvert. However, for human interaction to really mean something to me, I need to exchange ideas, ponder life, wonder together, and just be with another. I resonate with that, Dana, too. And Tammy says, it really made it very clear to me how little I was going out aside from work before COVID. My social life didn't change much, but I was hearing everyone else talking about how much things had changed for them. Yes, introvert here. And Tandra said, yes, Kathy, I was surprised to learn that I didn't miss some people. It felt like a weight lifted, and I realized how accommodating I am when it comes to being social. It's exhausting, but I learned that the alternative feels like, so that was eye-opening. And Tammy says, I think I'm an outgoing introvert. Is that a thing? I guess it falls under extrovert traits. Stephen says, my pets and plants are flourishing. Pets, yes. Don't forget social vitality and pets. Oh my gosh, this is a thing across the nation. People did like adopt animals like crazy. And I got a cat. I never had a cat before. And the joy that animal, that relationship with that animal gives me. I had dogs in the past. I always thought I was a dog person, but I've become, I guess, an animal person in general. David says, yes, Tamara, I like to be around others to really grow intellectually, and I really do need time on my own to recharge. Brenda says, I'm an extrovert. It's been hard. Yamuna says, introverted extrovert, me too, or extroverted introvert, right? And so thank you for reflecting on all of these things with me. And now we're going to move to the future, or move to right now. We have a little poll for you. Dana says yes. Tammy says yes, Dana. I enjoy social settings, but they wipe me out. Even some of the long Zoom meetings leave me feeling tired. Got it. So here's our post-pandemic poll. And I know that this may be like everybody's going to say a little of both, but really want a forced choice here. When it comes to social vitality post-pandemic, are you more looking forward to a return to normal or a new normal? Social vitality, your social life, are you looking forward to a return to normal or a new normal? So please vote. And Denise says, the stray cat I took in June of last year, finally would jump on my lap last couple of weeks. Nice.
All right, we're getting some good results. I think I can screen share or end the poll and share the results.
So 31% say a return to normal and 69% say a new normal. Only 26 of the 40 people on here voted though. So we got in the chat, new normal. I'm not going back. Y'all can have it. So when you say you're not going back, Tandra, maybe we could unmute you if you'd be willing to talk and say, like, to you, what's the new normal and what are you not going back to? Would you be willing to, like?
All right, she's raised her hand. I unmute. Go.
Great.
Yes, thank you. So for me, when I say I'm not going back, I'm not going back to the part where I put everyone else's needs before my own, where I would second guess myself. And I just learned through this whole experience what it can feel like to actually honor yourself and your own body rhythm and your own family. And so I am no longer interested in being pulled in every direction to meet other people's needs. So that's what I mean when I say it's a new normal for me. It's about a mindset shift.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tandra. And I'm feeling that coming out with other people in the chat too, that with relation to social vitality, people got more in touch with themselves and actually what it was feeling like, what relationships were feeling like. And I love what you said, Tandra, about honoring yourself and really paying attention. I guess Stephen was also talking about getting quieter and listening, like listening to oneself about, do I want this? Do I need this? Am I up for this right now? Where is my energy? Because I think also, I mean, something that happens is if you push yourself to do things that are, when you're not in the best space to do them, the energy that you're giving them is tainted, and it's also more depleting on your end, you know. And so it could be the same request from someone on one day, you could happily fulfill and easily, no sweat, it wouldn't take anything out of you. But if the ask is the same on a different day, it can like completely deplete you. And so understanding how another's requests are going to impact you is part of having your vitality, your social vitality stay strong. So it's not like what people, how many people, who, it's really comes down to your relationship with yourself. And I think that's a really beautiful insight, Tandra. I think, and Dana says, I think this has forced us all to slow down, evaluate what's truly important to us, focus more on self and family. New normal equals self, then family, but all matter. And Deborah says it feels like a chore. What feels like a chore, Deborah? Do you want to talk? You can raise your hand and then Andrew will unmute you.
No hands raised yet.
No, it's okay. No, okay, I'm at work. Okay, got it. No problem. But you maybe, which feels like a chore to you would be nice to know. Some days I'm more socially available. Yes, Denise. And some times of day I'm more socially available. I mean, it just is. It just is. And a lot of it depends on, I mean, that's why these domains of vitality are so interdependent, right? Because it depends on how well you're sleeping, you know, what you ate the day before, you know, what you drank the day before, you know, like how is your body? And I loved it when somebody in the chat said, paying attention to my body and my mind and my spirit about this social engagement. So the mindfulness has really increased, is what I in our community is what I'm feeling. And people who were kind of like wired to give, wired to serve, which we all, you know, many of us are in, you know, helping professions. We're wired to give, we're wired to serve. We know we enjoy it. We know we get validation from it. At the same time, we're able to, with this little break, understand the balance between the need for self-care and the need to be there for others. It's a very important set of points. Let's go to a question, Andrew.
All right.
So what does social vitality feel like to you? I think, Dana, you started talking about this in terms of like, it's enriching and it's nourishing if it's adding meaning. I mean, and I resonated with what you were saying, is that, you know, intellectually, spiritually, energetically being around, there are times when it feels really important to be seen, to be heard, to be understood, to be witnessed, to be valued, and to be able to participate and do that reciprocally for someone else. And Tandra says, okay, so Denise says warming, and Tandra says fulfilling, not draining. Yes. Rebecca says connection that builds each other up. And Tammy says healthy relationships play a key role for me. What role do they play, Tammy? Just adding a little extra question for you. So yes, that's what social vitality feels like. Feels like Dana says it's enjoying the exchanges, adding value to our lives, meeting of minds and ideas, stretching me to be my best self. Totally agree.
Yeah, for me,
healthy relationships are super affirming. Makes it all worth it. Andrew, you going to say something?
Yeah, I would say that for me, social vitality feels like just a sense of acceptance and calm. Like I just really enjoy being around people who accept who I am, and I feel comfortable accepting who they are in our friendship. So that's been very important to me.
And Crystal Marie says, thanks, Andrew. Being able to interact with other moms and professionals, allowing my 8-month-old to develop social skills. I think also I know at Be Strong Families, that many of us have gotten closer to each other over the course of the pandemic because we were, holding the space and trying to be there for others at the same time as we needed, we've always been wanting to recognize and flow with what's happening for people in their life. And because what was happening was so extreme in a lot of cases, we really did pull together and I think develop more personal relationships, or more the personal side of the professional relationships. Many of us did. And then Tammy says, I feel best when there isn't drama or conflict, mutual respect of boundaries and love. And Andrew says, yes, the mutual respect of boundaries is essential for me as well. Dana says, I always ask my girls what their best memories are, and they always respond that it's a time when they were with someone doing something. Sharing this life of ours makes it all meaningful and worthwhile. And Denise says, able to be the real me and relax. And I think for me, part of it is also trusting that if I'm committed to being the real me and committed to being relaxed, then I will be able to attract the people who resonate with that real me, and that will add to that. If I am always trying to be what other people want me to be, or putting on, something, that's not entirely authentic, then I'm going to attract people who are magnetize people who are attracted to that vibration. So, Tammy agrees with Dana and Denise. Nice. Okay, what's the next question? Because we're getting there. Let's do the next 2 questions or 3. So what are your intentions regarding your relationships with others? How are you moving back into socializing, and what nurtures your social vitality? So I think this is like any one of those 3 questions you can, but the question is like going forward, what are your intentions?
And Steven says moving back slowly. It definitely resonates with me. Slowly but surely, not jumping back into it.
Well, thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Stephen. One thing that happened to me, and I think it's kind of like just watching how it's evolving, but since I moved, I've had lots of visitors. Like I'm not too many, but like 1 or 2 people that drove a long way, to have breakfast with me, or to have lunch with me, or to see my place, or to reconnect. So I realized as that was happening, like as I was putting out food for people and preparing for them to come, that I haven't entertained since I was married, which is like almost 20 years ago. Like I used to entertain a lot. And then I went through this space where I started traveling a lot and living very lightly, like not putting down roots and renting apartments. And since I bought this house, I've had visitors, and I feel like I want this place to be like a place where people can relax and be themselves, and there to be workshops and healing that happens here. So I think I see myself moving into entertaining more, and entertaining in a way that's consistent with spiritual, social, emotional vitality. Dana says, I'm making plans to get together with intentional time with friends, having a 3-hour lunch to talk, not a 45-minute dine and dash. Nice. And Brenda, I'm just going to take it slow and see how it goes. If reconnection doesn't happen, I'll be okay with that. Denise says she went to an in-person baby shower on Saturday, first event in well over a year. Tammy says, I agree, slowly getting back out there. For me, that basically means working from the office and visiting families. I'm not ready for those things yet. I'm hoping we can transition slowly rather than jumping back in all at once. Dana says, yes, Katthe, I love to entertain, try new recipes, be a warm, welcoming oasis. Right. And it's been wonderful. Like, you know, like I had my first, like 2 of my coworkers came this last weekend, and we had, and they got out of the car. They're like, I haven't seen you in a year. Like, I haven't seen you in person in a year. And it was like, we were all vaccinated. They were like, can we hug? You know? So we like hugged, and it was just like, I don't know, it didn't feel like a return. It felt to me like a completely new, you know, place to be. Rebecca says, balance need for connection with others with need to be alone and recharge will make keeping in touch a bigger priority. Yeah, I think that, you know, being able to answer the question, put it out there, it's like you stating your intentions, which is important for the rest of the week. What are the rules on hugging? Masks on, everybody holds their breath, LOL. Well, we were all vaccinated, and that means I'm not afraid of dying anymore. If I get COVID, I'm not going to die, most likely. So I'm, you know, so I'm hugging, you know. Let's go to the next slide because we're out of time. So follow us, join the social media vitality journey. Next slide, just to let you know what's happening the rest of the week. Sarita's going to hold space for conversation tomorrow on friends and family. And then Wednesday, Alexandra is going to do hold space for a conversation on social vitality and spiritual friendships. I talked a little bit about spiritual friendships today, but she's going to dive deep. And then Guy is going to be talking about reconnecting and rekindling. So I think, Tammy, that one's probably one you'll want to go to, because that one is also about, like, what are we doing about masks? What are people feeling about hugging? You know, what's your comfort level with big events? So that's the reconnecting and rekindling webinar. And then Friday is the Social Vitality Cafe. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Replenish yourself through the domains of vitality. Look for some emails. If you've been to at least 5 of these, you'll get your first woohoo email in a day or two, and then more to come after that. So thank you, everybody, for being here, and I'll see you next Monday, or maybe I'll see you on Wednesday if I jump into Alexandra's webinar. Happy Monday.